The show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, and you. Love to have you part of the show. And you can be a part of the show via the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. That's the way you can chime in. Give us a score prediction for tomorrow. Massive game in the Spectrum tomorrow night. It's a whiteout game. They did open up some extra seats. I don't know if there are any still available, but I would, if I were you, if you are still interested in going and you don't have a seat yet, contact the ticket office and see if they have any, because don't despair. There may still be a way to get into the Spectrum to watch Utah State take on Boise State tomorrow night. So we'll preview the matchups here on the Full Court Press. We'll touch on it both hours today. We'll hear from coach and players, actually coaches and players next hour. I was able to find some audio from Leon Rice and Cardenas. I can't remember his first name. Alvaro, yes. Both of them had some comments about Utah State playing in the Spectrum. So I was just curious. I found it, and I thought, there's some interesting stuff here that we'll share with you, the audience. So stay tuned for that next hour. And it's playoff time. We had the first semifinal of the college football playoff last night. The second one is tonight. And, of course, the NFL playoffs begin this weekend. So we'll touch on that more next hour, but looking at the playoffs for both college football and the NFL. So stay tuned for that full show. And we've got a bunch of high school games going on this evening as well. Everybody's in action. So we'll tell you who's playing where, how you can follow along, all of that coming up later on this evening on our family of radio stations here at the Cache Valley Media Group. But first and foremost, Jason Walker, it's Jason's birthday tomorrow. So anybody on the text line that wants to wish Jason a happy birthday, 435-339-0321.
Betrayal.
You can thank your mother for that.
Yeah. Yes, it's her fault. She spilled the beans.
Yeah, I got to meet Mama Walker. What's that, Tuesday or Wednesday?
It was yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh, my gosh. This is a weird week for me.
It's literally like 25 hours ago.
Oh, that's right, because I debated if I should bring it up yesterday on the show, but I knew you'd be here for part of today, so I was going to hold off to today.
Yeah, so, they came up, visited me for my birthday, went out to eat, whatnot. My brother, he drives the bus, so they came up, rode the bus around. I actually went and rode the bus with him, little chance to visit with them for an hour or so, but then came back to work. Then they visited me at work, took them through a bit of a tour, took them in here into the studio.
Yeah, you were doing the whole Boy Scout tour.
Yeah, they had a blast. They thought it was really cool. So.
Yeah, it was fun to meet them. And yes, Mama Walker is very proud of her boy. Want to remind me that his birthday is this weekend. So I'm reminding you, the audience, that it's Jason's birthday.
Yeah. So
if you see Jason tomorrow, tell him he's great, because it's Jason Walker's day.
Tell you right. Well, I'll be down there. I'll be down there in the press row.
Yeah, you'll be in the Spectrum. So get there early and do a little drive by and walk by and wish him a happy birthday on your way to your seats.
Yeah, there's usually about a 50-50 chance every given year that I'll be doing a game, like I'll be covering a game on my birthday, high school or college. Mind you, I never really care. It's like, just working, and I enjoy my work. So it's like, and as far as I know, they've usually won on my birthday. At least Utah State. I can't speak to any of the high school games I've done, at least with Logan. But I think Utah State's had a pretty successful run. And maybe I should go back and double check how they've done. But I think they've done pretty well.
That's good. That's a good omen then for Utah State tomorrow.
I think they played Boise State on my birthday a few years back too. It wasn't last year. It would have been a couple years back, I think. And last year's Boise State game at home was like on the 20th or something. So
7241 texting in. I would have spilled the beans about your birthday tomorrow anyway, except that it's a Saturday, so it wouldn't have worked.
No, it wouldn't have. It's not we're not doing a show on my birthday. I think that happened last year.
You could text into Aggie game day.
That's true.
On KVNU.
I won't be on Aggie
in the
game.
pregame. Yeah, Jason won't be there. You'll be already at the arena. But
I've been on the pregame show like once, like for football and basketball all year. That's because they just kind of happened to be around. So,
yeah. We were on football twice.
I guess we did some.
At least twice.
I think we did some pre-recorded stuff for
football.
for
For the round table.
Yeah, I guess we did do round table. So I guess I've been on more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I guess it was a few times during football season. I'd never been on live. I guess that's why I kind of forgot about it.
I'm not going to ask you how many trips around the sun, but
no, it's
been a few. Not as many as me.
Let's just say
that's fine.
Let's just say at this point it's more than 30. And I'm going to leave it at that.
So happy birthday tomorrow, Jason.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully hoping for good things to come on your birthday. And certainly the biggest topic on that point is, as you already mentioned, Utah State taking on Boise State. Big matchup between the Aggies and the Broncos. And there's been some good ones between these two teams over the years. Boise State, not a bad team. Like this is a solid team so far this year. They've got some nice wins on their resume from the non-conference, but they've also kind of limped along a little bit. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, they're 4-1 in conference play, 12-4 overall. So I don't know why I'm trying to make it sound like they've had a mediocre stretch. This is a good basketball team, and this is a team that honestly, one of the aspects of this Boise State team this year that has me worried is they have 4 impact players at 6'7", 6'8", and they just took off the red shirt of a freshman who was a very dynamic player in their last game, and he had a pretty solid outing. He too is 6'7". So this team has length. Now, this isn't the first time Utah State's gone up against a team with length at some key positions. So Aggies should be prepared in how to handle that. But this is a pretty dynamic Boise State team led by Tyson Degenhart, who's been there a while. But he's 6'8" forward, averaging almost 18 points a game, almost 6.5 rebounds a game. One of the best players in the Mountain West.
Yeah, and he's definitely a great player, but kind of to the point of the size, it's something that I've been worried about the Aggies in the past, like how can they handle this? But we know they can. And that's kind of the biggest key. Doesn't mean that they always will, not necessarily. They're probably going to have a game this year that will chalk up a loss because of their size. That's probably going to happen at some point. But we brought it up with Iowa. We brought it up with St. Mary's. We could have brought it up with San Diego State. I don't know if it was as big of a point. Heck, I think even Nevada. That was something where they have guys like Kobe Sanders going along, Trey Coleman, and some of their other, tall players, where the Aggies aren't a super tall team, and especially a lot of their lineups where their best lineup has one player taller than 6'5". And they managed to, it's their best lineup, and it's worked well against bigger lineups. It's forced teams to go small. So I don't know if I'm as concerned that Boise State is big. I guess the big concern is like, how is Utah State able to handle it? Because they did against teams like Iowa when they had a matchup problem against South Florida. They had the big guy who could post up pretty much anybody. They managed to completely neutralize him. When St. Mary's had bigs that could dominate in the post, they managed to slow them down, really held that St. Mary's offense down in St. Mary's own building. San Diego State couldn't get their bigs to really be much of an impact. They played one of their bigs off the court, where he just wasn't on the court late in the game because he just wasn't viable. So with Boise State, they've got a lot of the length, but Utah State knows how to deal with that length. It's just, will they continue to do so? Will the matchup zone clog up the paint? Because if the matchup zone does that job where it clogs up the paint and they don't give up 3-point shooting to the Broncos, who, mind you, shoot under 30% as a team. So as long as they don't pull like a Fresno State or a St. Mary's and just, have at it from 3, of course, the Aggies still held down St. Mary's pretty well. As long as they don't allow Boise State to go wild from 3, they, I think, should be able to contain this offense because they can get enough rim protection from Carson or Aubin, and as long as they don't get out-rebounded, that'll be the thing. If Ian and Mason are getting in there for rebounds, Akano, Anderson, like these guys are all either shorter or smaller in terms of bulk and weight. They're all smaller than the Boise players, but as long as they box out and go after rebounds, or if Carson or Aubin get them, but they may be preoccupied in boxing out, Omar Stanley or Degenhart. As long as the Aggies find some way to get rebounds, I don't think the size is going to be that much of a problem. So as long as they don't allow themselves to get dominated in the paint, the kind of phrase I was thinking of today was they need to be able to control the paint or at least not get dominated in the paint. Like, do they need to outscore Boise like 40-20 in points in the paint? I think they did that last year at home, where they were just dominant in the paint. They don't need to do that. That would obviously win them the game. But as long as Boise isn't dominating Utah State, and this goes for both sides, but particularly on Utah State's defensive end, if they can control the paint enough, they will give themselves every chance to win this game because they'll have neutralized Boise State's advantage. And then the Aggies will have free reign to use their small ball lineups to control every part of the game on, when they're on offense. So I think that's one of the biggest keys here.
Yeah. And this really, looking at the matchups, it's like Boise State's strengths are different than Utah State's strengths. When you look at just roster and personnel, it's not quite like in some other situations where we've seen their best guy is going to be lined up against Utah State's best guy. So it's how do they mitigate or work through some of the areas where they're not strong, because that's where the other team is strong. And that goes for both teams. Like scoring wise, Boise doesn't have great scoring coming out of their guards. Cardanius is a decent scorer, but he's more of a facilitator. But Utah State has great guard play. But Utah State's small forward, center position aren't really the strengths, although Tucker Anderson has certainly been coming along lately. And this is going to be another game where Carson off the bench is going to have to play a significant role. So it goes to the question that I had and we were discussing earlier in the week. Can the Aggies get a little bit more out of Aubin Gaudaretzi and Isaac Johnson? If they can, then I like the Aggies' chances of taking care of business. I don't think Utah State's going to run away from Boise. I think the Broncos are a good team, and that's going to be hard to do. But I'm really going to like the Aggies' chances more if Aubin and Isaac can give the Aggies a little bit more than they've been giving recently.
Yeah, I think if the Aggies can run some big lineups that stand up to the size that Boise has, again, I don't even think they have to dominate. They don't have to turn, they don't have to do the old Uno reverse card and say, oh, your strength is our strength now. They don't have to do that.
Right.
They just need to be able to stand up to the size. When Tyson Degenhart gets the ball on the perimeter or in the post, because he's one of those guys that can kind of, even as a post guy, work from the perimeter into the paint. A guy who can handle it, kind of like what Great Osborne did last, because he didn't always just post up. He would isolate and then get into the paint. Mm-hmm. Degenhart can often do the same thing, draws a lot of fouls that way, but get the ball out of his hands in those situations. Double team him in the post or find ways to help and force turnovers when he drives and, limit his impact. As long as they can do that, then I think you look at the speed of the guards for the Aggies, they'll be able to beat a lot of these guys because who does Boise State have out there that's going to be able to stand up to Ian Martinez and Mason Falslev? Not really anybody.
Yeah,
Cardenas is a pretty solid guard and a decent defender in his own right, but he's, of course, he's probably going to be guarding Drake Allen or Dayton Albury or whoever the point guard is. So sure, the guy guarding Ian Martinez may be 6'7", but Ian's going to be way faster than that player. Going to be able to either blow by him and get to the rim where he can then, either finish because he's a good finisher, or maybe dump off to Carson or Aubin, or just be raining threes because they'll be running all over the court and will be able to find open spaces to hit those threes. And the same goes for Mason. Everything I said about Ian, same can go for Mason because those two players are bringing a lot of the same things. And then you could also see Dayton Albury maybe getting downhill a lot where he's really fast. I don't think anybody on Boise State's roster has the speed to keep up with Dayton Albury or has the combination of size and speed to be able to handle Drake Allen. So I really think Utah State's guards can dominate this game. The question is, will Boise State's size be able to dominate the Aggies, kind of just, vice versa? Utah State's backcourt is better. Boise State's front court is more productive than the Aggies. It's which, does Boise State's backcourt stand up better to Utah State's backcourt, or does Utah State's front court stand up better to Boise State's front court? Like, which of those dynamics do we see? That, I think, is going to be the thing that ends up winning the game, is who has their weakness stand up to the other team's strength the best.
435-339-0321 if you want to weigh in. Love to get your thoughts and predictions about the game tomorrow. It's a whiteout game, and KVNU game day coverage will begin at 6 as you're heading to the arena. Tune in to KVNU, and then, listen all the way through if you can't be there. And then as soon as you come out, get your radio on and hear what the coach has to say, and call in and weigh in on what happened on Stu Morrill Court in the Spectrum tomorrow night. 7994 giving us a score prediction. Boise State 63, Utah State 69. Boise makes it really ugly, but this USU team can win ugly. Turnovers will continue to be a key. We need to watch for players in foul trouble also.
Yeah, fouls are going to be a big thing. And just a quick note before we get to that on the turnovers, Boise doesn't force a lot of turnovers, and they also don't they're kind of slightly above average in their turnover percentage. They rank 131st in their own turnover percentage, but they rank 257th in forcing turnovers. So I don't think they're going to force a lot of turnovers, but maybe the Aggies, who are really good at forcing turnovers, they rank 32nd in forcing turnovers. So I think they can end up causing a lot of chaos, especially for Tyson Degenhart. Like, bigs who are high volume players can often be forced into high turnover games if they're getting flustered, if they're, driving into the paint and they see 2 or 3 bodies there. You saw that from Great Osobor last year, where there were some games where he had like 6, 7, 8, 9 turnovers. And I think you could maybe force the same out of Degenhart. But kind of the flip side of that, though, is the fouls. Because, if you're not successful at forcing turnovers or aren't doing so cleanly, if you're not getting the ball when you're swiping at it as they drive, you can draw or commit a lot of fouls. And Boise State draws a ton of fouls. They rank 52nd in free throw attempts. They rank 25th in free throws made. So they're actually really good. They're 16th in free throw percentage, so that's why there's that disconnect there, where they make more of their free throws than other teams that take high volume. And Degenhart is a leader. He attempts 6.5 free throws per game, makes 82% of them. So that's going to be a big thing for Utah State as well, is not fouling, and particularly not bailing out Degenhart. If you're keeping him from hitting 3-pointers, if you're keeping him from getting easy shots in the paint, don't bail him out by sending him to the free throw line where you can get cheap points.
4 of their 5 top performers, night in and night out, shoot 75% or better from the free throw line. Degenhart's at 82.5. Andrew Meadow, 86.2. Javen Buchanan, 81.5. And then Alvaro Cardenas at 74.5. So they have good free throw shooters. So when they get to the line, they don't really leave many points on the table. So how often, and get to the point about foul trouble, will the Aggies be fouling them and sending them to the line? And sometimes when you're having to defend bigger players, sometimes guys aren't playing defense properly and are relying too much on their hands and making swipes. And so that's something they have to be careful about, is not getting cheap fouls to guys that are bigger than them, but who are also very efficient when they do get to the free throw line.
Yeah, if you're committing fouls, it means you're not playing defense right. You're not in the right position. You're not, staying in front of your guy. You're not contesting at the rim properly. We've seen the Aggies struggle with that. We've seen them be really good at not committing fouls, where they force turnovers and they contest at the rim and don't foul. So you need to see the plus side of that. Now, mind you, Boise State has won when they take a lot of free throws. They've also lost when they take a lot of free throws. So this isn't the end-all, be-all, but it's certainly something that could, really help. If you're not sending them to the free throw line a ton, then, again, it's not free points for them, and that's the biggest thing. But although to me, a bigger thing will ultimately be 3-point percentage. Like, how do the Aggies defend the three? They've had a few games recently where they let teams shoot better than three than they should. San Jose State, Fresno State, St. Mary's, they all shot really well from three. There are a couple games in the mix there where they held teams to like 20-something%. But I thought a couple of interesting stats. One is that of the 6 worst 3-point performances Boise State has had, all 4 of their losses are contained within those 6 games. And on an individual level, this is kind of even more interesting. Tyson Degenhart shoots 32% in Boise State wins, 32% from 3. He's 2 of 19 from 3 in their losses. And like every one of them is bad, like 0 for 4, 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 1 for 5. Like those are his 3-point performances in their 4 losses. And so I think that's the biggest key is don't let them get hot from 3. And that's going to end up stymieing their offense. Because if they can't break you from the outside, then they're going to struggle to score inside because the Aggies will just pack the paint. They're not going to be able to do anything from there.
A lot more to discuss and to preview for Utah State and Boise State. 435-339-0321. Looking at the matchups, the storylines, and what the rosters might look like for tomorrow. How this might play out between Utah State and Boise State. And love to get your thoughts on it. 435-339-0321.
Cold weather is here. Let the gold medal winner in the Best of Know the Utah's Fireplace category help you update your home with Heat and Glow's full line of gas or wood-burning products. Building a new home? Let the professionals at Advanced Fireplace and Stove design and install your fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Install a product that will allow your family to make memories for years to come. Stop by at their showroom or visit them at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Adams Wealth Advisors tailors your future with expert in-house help. You need a CPA? No problem. Legal help? They can do that. And of course, certified financial planners with years of experience watching over every move.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and tomorrow birthday boy Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, give us a score prediction for tomorrow and a birthday wish for Jason. You can do that. It's okay.
I guess it's allowed.
We'll allow it. So yeah, Utah State getting ready to take on Boise State. Broncos are 12-4 overall, 4-1 in conference play. Currently 55th in the net. And this is a team that beat St. Mary's in a neutral site in overtime by 2 points. This game was played in Idaho Falls. So it wasn't really in Boise's backyard, but still in their state. They also played and beat Clemson earlier in the year. But a team that's also lost to San Francisco and San Diego State and Washington State.
Yeah, they have a quad 4 loss. They lost in a neutral site to Boston College. So when you look at it, it's a team that should be, I think, better than their record shows. And they've showed kind of their high-end potential, but they've also kind of showed the low end. New Mexico's kind of in the same boat where you see like some of the better wins, like with Clemson or St. Mary's, that the Mountain West has, if anybody, belong to a team like Boise State or even New Mexico, who beat UCLA. But you also have a Boise State who is 2-3 in quad 1, quad 2 games. They have a losing record in quad 1, quad 2 games combined. And they have a quad 4 loss. So it's a team that sometimes is showing that high-end potential, the ability to win close games, where they beat Clemson pretty handily, and they managed to squeak out that win over St. Mary's, in overtime, in a low-scoring, grinded-out game. But then they also kind of get bodied at home by San Diego State, where they kind of lost control of that game and never got it back. Although then they turn around and blow the doors off of UNLV. So it's like trying to figure out exactly what this Boise State team is, and I think there's just some inconsistency where when they put it together, they hit some three-pointers, get some of their, get Tyson Degenhart involved, but especially the guys around Degenhart get involved. That's when they can, if they can put that all together, then they are arguably the best team in the Mountain West. But they don't put it together often enough to be that super dominant team, that preseason number one that everyone had them as.
Yeah, this game has me more nervous than the Fresno game or the San Jose game, and both of those games were way tight, uncomfortable. This is a better team than either of those two previous, and this has pretty big implications to look at conference standings. The road to the Mountain West right now goes through Logan. But it could change in the blink of an eye if Boise State wins this one. Now, it would be a bit of a round robin. Utah State beat San Diego State beat Boise State beat Utah State.
Yeah, the road team winning each time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. It's like the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other.
Yeah, basically.
So this is a big one for Utah State to stay above the fray. Aggies are going to be favored in this one, but it does have big implications for the rest of the Mountain West and how things could shake out. There's also New Mexico that's sitting out there who hasn't played either of these three teams and is undefeated so far in conference play.
Yeah, and I do think they play San Diego State pretty soon. I think that's their next game, so they're going to get tested more so than playing Nevada or, Fresno State Air Force. They've played a lot of the bottom end of the conference so far. But yeah, this is a game. It's kind of early, so like the implications aren't going to feel as immediate because the Aggies could lose and theoretically still come out tied for first place. They'd be tied with like two or three other teams at that point, but they could still kind of be in first place. But as you said, they lose the advantage they have right now. As you said, Mountain West title kind of runs through Logan. I say kind of because New Mexico is also undefeated, but they have yet to face some of the same tests the Aggies have. So if the Aggies come away with this win, they will stay ahead. They'll have won on the road at a key opponent with San Diego State. They'll have defended home court. They'll have beaten all the lower teams. They'll have been closer. The Wyoming game and Fresno State and even San Jose State game were all kind of closer than we were expecting, but the Aggies would have won all those games. And then they'll have won at Nevada. They'll have won at San Diego State and defended home court in the one side on the one end of the home and home with Boise State. So it'd be a massive thing for the Aggies to start 3-0 against some of the contenders in the Mountain West. I guess probably throw Nevada out of the contenders ring. So it'll be 2-0.
Yeah.
But again, that would just be such a massive boost. It wouldn't be a catastrophic loss. And that's kind of thing. The positives that you can gain outweigh the potential negatives of losing because they can recover from losing. But the winning, again, is they could technically fumble it later, but it would just be this massive boost. You wouldn't fall behind in any of the series. And you'd be guaranteed to be at least tied for first place coming out of it. So there is a lot at stake here, even though it's your fifth game of Mountain West play.
Well, by the time they tip off, they'll know: are they playing to maintain first place, or are they playing to be tied for first place? Because as you had mentioned earlier, New Mexico does play San Diego State. That's an 11 a.m. tip off on CBS in Albuquerque. So big national broadcast for 13-3 overall, 5-0 in conference play. New Mexico hosting 10-3 overall, 3-1 in conference play, San Diego State.
And if San Diego State gets the win in that one, that's a team that'll be catching up to the Aggies. The Aggies do have the one win over them, but you don't want to give any of that advantage back.
No.
And like you said, if the Aggies lose to Boise State, suddenly you're looking at a kind of awkward three-way tie. Well, I don't know if the Aggies would necessarily have a tiebreaker. Mind you, everyone has to play each other again.
Right.
But you don't want to give up any of that advantage. You want to stay ahead. And so this is why it just makes it such a massive game where this is one of the contenders that you're going up against, the preseason favorite, the preseason player of the year. You got to be able to win this game. You got to be able to defend home court. Don't make the mistake that San Diego State and Boise State did. Defend home court against the best teams in the conference. That's step one in winning the conference. You got to defend home court against everybody. And after that, you add on the gravy of picking up a couple of road wins. But yeah, just don't miss step one.
Yeah, Boise State, this is a team that their last couple of games, they've put up 30 3-point shots in each of their last couple of games. They only put up 14 in their game against St. Mary's. Dramatic difference. But over the last couple of games, they're chucking up a bunch of threes. They're not connecting necessarily very well, but they're shooting a lot of threes. And Coach Leon Rice wants them to shoot threes and feels like eventually they'll start hitting and they'll up their averages. Tyson Degenhart is a solid wing player for Boise State, and they've got a great dynamic point guard. That's a pretty powerful duo. Aggie fans should also be watchful and mindful of Omar Stanley, someone who's been a little bit quiet this season, but has started to come along a little bit more as of late. A bigger guy. Yes, he's 6'8", but he's a thicker body, and he's more of a lower post presence. So this is, and then in addition to that, they pulled the red shirt off of Pearson Carmichael, who they call Peanut. And this was a big-time recruit coming out of Oregon. They're 5A player of the year. And he played his first game in their last game against UNLV and had a pretty solid outing. 8 points, a couple of rebounds, 3 rebounds. He shot 50% from the field. So this 6'7", 208-pound wing, just one more in a host of guys of that same size and length that Boise has in droves.
Yeah, and with the three-point shooting, they have guys who have at least in the past shot well from three. Alvaro Cardenas has actually been weird, where last year shot 38% from three, and then his freshman year shot 37%. Although in between that, he shot 31%, and this year he's in the 20s.
Yeah, 28 right now, 28%.
So he's kind of an interesting guy where it's you see the percentage, but there's hidden inside a guy who can hit 4 or 5 threes in a game if you let him, if he ends up getting hot early on. So he can be dangerous. Although other than that, it's just, I don't know, you maybe throw darts at somebody who may be able to go off from three. This Carmichael kid could be it. He has a small sample size in college, obviously. He's 2 for 5 in the one game. Degenhart did go 4 of 9 from 3 in one game. I know they have Javen Buchanan. He shoots 39%, but he attempts 1 or 2 threes a game. So he's not likely to make 4 or 5 threes because he's not going to take 4 or 5 threes.
He's not a volume shooter from 3.
Andrew Meadow, maybe. He's actually their highest in terms of volume, excluding Pearson, who's averaging 5 per game in one game. Andrew Meadow averages 4.8 in his 16 games. So there could be guys who go off from 3. We mentioned them taking 33-pointers in each of their last 2 games. Well, they're shooting, 25% in those last 2 games. And if they go into Utah State and shoot 25% from 3, they're going to lose. Unless they score 50 points in the paint, they're going to lose shooting 25% from 3, because I think the Aggies are going to, if that's their percentage from 3, they're going to be able to play off of that and guard the interior, force turnovers when they try and go inside. That is a very, very manageable percentage for the Aggies. And you look at San Diego State, they handled it pretty well because Boise State shot 7 of 30 against San Diego State. They win that game. UNLV, they couldn't handle Boise State when they went inside the arc because, despite shooting 26% from 3 in that game, Boise State still shot nearly 50% from the field, which means they were dominating in the paint. But I think the Aggies can do a little better defending the paint than UNLV.
435-339-0321 if you want to give us your score prediction for tomorrow. It's a whiteout game, so if you are going, make sure you wear white. If you don't have tickets and you'd still like to go, call the ticket office. They might still have a seat or 2 available here or there, so don't be dismayed. They opened up some additional seats earlier today. So give them a call and verify that. Don't take anybody's word for it. You should just verify it yourself. We got to take a break here on the Full Court Press, but when we come back, no Chicho, and Arango maybe on the move. So we'll talk about that next on the Full Court Press.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime, parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
S.E. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. We offer a large selection of personalized service and extraordinary benefits with our integrity price guarantee. At match quality, you'll find our prices to be as low or lower than any store in the state. We consistently beat any 50 to 70% off sales, internet pricing, or so-called wholesale deals. In fact, we even price our diamonds at internet pricing. So you'll get S.E. Needham quality at internet prices. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, and some news out of RSL. Some roster changes happening. Jason's got to go here before too long. He's going to be calling a Logan High basketball game down at Westfield. Grizzlies at the Longhorns. But before he leaves, the birthday boy needs to weigh in on what's going on with RSL because one of its best players is on the move.
Yeah, Chicho Arango is moving to the San Jose Earthquakes after you'd only been here for like a year and a half. Came in kind of the tail end of a couple seasons ago, was doing really well. Last year had a wonderful first half, tied the season goals record with like half a season left to go, and then he didn't score the rest of the season. The end of the year was kind of rough for Chicho. Actually also got suspended in the middle of the season for 4 matches, which included the All-Star game. So it had a rough end to his time with RSL ultimately is the end of his time here with RSL. But at one point, he was an MVP candidate. He was the driving force behind what was looking like a potential MLS Cup contending RSL team. And it kind of sucks now because despite the front office kind of trying, like, I don't want to place really any blame on the front office here for the way last season ended, because they tried to make it work. Like, they sold Andres Gomez, who was the second leading goal scorer. And they sold him because they weren't going to hang on to him. So when they got a premium price for him, they let him go. And like, it sucks, but it's business. You weren't going to hang on to him, so get the best price you can for him. And then they try to make it work by signing some pretty big signings. Like, they tried their darndest to replace some of the guys that they lost. But now, really, the biggest blow is you had your goal scorer. Like, that's kind of the one thing that RSL has struggled to have for the last, better part of the last decade. They've struggled to find a guy they can put at the top of the formation, go out there and just get goals. And I felt like time and again, Chicho would just go out there and get a goal or get 2 goals. I mean, and he also had 1 or 2 hat tricks or whatnot. So he was a huge driving force in the offense that, everything builds up to Chicho scoring a goal, or him, by him drawing away the defense, somebody else gets a goal. And now that's over, and you got to kind of start over from scratch. Go find somebody else. And, finding that kind of guy is hard because, everybody wants one. So yeah, it's a premium price you got to pay, and you had one on your team, but unfortunately, circumstances apparently, I can't imagine RSL gave him up super willingly. Their hands had to have been forced in this situation.
Well, he was somebody who was so dynamic the first half of the season, and then he kind of disappeared in the second half.
Yeah, and it was just really weird.
So I don't know if there were other things going on off the field.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. It's something that we may have to wait. Maybe somebody will leak something, or I don't know, the tea will get spilt at some point. But yeah, just however it happened, the fact that Chicho is now gone is a big deal, and it's crushing. They also lost Matt Crooks. Mind you, they'll probably be able to find a replacement for Crooks, but still, the RSL at one point last year, again, they were legitimately looking like a MLS Cup contender, and they just slowly, gradually became worse. They stopped being an MLS Cup contender, and then they ended up bowing out in the first round of the playoffs. So there's some work to do. And again, I think, despite some of the losses they've taken, the players they've had to sell, the fact that the team kind of collapsed, that's just something I think kind of happened that nobody really could have predicted. I don't know. Some people may blame the manager. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be able to know whether or not to blame the manager or just fate. To me, it just feels like fate decided RSL wasn't going to be good. And they've got to figure out a way, because they are trying, they are spending, they are using all their assets they can to bring in the best players they can. It's not like, previously under Deloy Hansen, I think was his name, where he didn't give a rip. He was a cheap owner. He's like the owner of, you think, Arizona Coyotes, the Oakland A's, like cheap, don't even try. Just if the franchise makes money, he's happy. And that's not the way it's being run.
Well, really kind of treated the players as commodities that could be bought and sold.
Yeah, and it's just, if you kind of make the playoffs, then you're doing well enough. You sold enough tickets, the franchise made a profit.
Buy low, sell high.
Yeah, essentially.
That's the bottom line.
And here they're willing to buy, and they're going to try. Are they going to be perfect with it? The Andres Gomez didn't work out the way they wanted because they couldn't replace him the way they wanted. But gosh darn it, they tried. They signed some pretty good players, at least pretty good guys, pretty good on paper, to try and replace him. So love the effort, just got to get a bit lucky at some point. And right now, RSL kind of unlucky with losing a guy who at one point was an legitimate MVP. Like, Lionel Messi was going crazy over in Miami, and Chicho was matching a lot of. Yeah,
he's giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, so that's the kind of player that they had with Chicho. Lost that player in the second half of the season, and now they've lost him altogether. Not even chance to rebound from that. So we'll see what RSL does, but yeah, for now they're very much back to square one and trying to reconstruct their offense.
Jason, we got to let you go. You got to hit the road to make your way south to the west side of Ogden. Logan High Grizzlies going to be taking on the Westfield Longhorns later tonight on our sister station KVNU. But you could speak to the RSL moves in much better detail than I could. So want to make sure we get that in before you hit the road.
May have to have one of our RSL experts on the show as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a minute. But drive safe and have a happy birthday tomorrow. It's Jason Walker's birthday tomorrow, everybody.
Apparently. I don't know if you mentioned that yet today.
435-339-0321. If you still want to chime in and give us a score prediction for tomorrow's game between Utah State and Boise State. A lot more preview to come next hour. We'll hear from the coaches and players from both teams, actually, about these matchups and the lineups and playing in the spectrum. But Utah State football looks like they're adding to their roster, getting a couple players from some Power 4 schools. We'll discuss next on the Full Court Press.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. This is a story that came to us from a real customer, and I wanted to share it with you.
We came in looking for a scooter for our mother. The staff at Alpine showed us different options for scooters and battery-operated wheelchairs and helped us find one that was easy for her to handle and easy for us to get in and out of her car. They have fabulous customer service.
We love hearing about your experiences. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. It's just another way we install confidence. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts. They supply parts to over a dozen local Napa Auto Care centers. You can trust and count on their ASE certified mechanics at places like Brent Allen Automotive in Logan or General Repair in Logan, even HK Auto in Dayton. For anything from oil changes to major repair, take your vehicle to one of these Napa Auto Care centers, and they trust Napa Auto Parts. So a couple of additions to Utah State's football roster. Jason has updated his football tracker on CashValleyDaily.com, the transfer tracker, and the Aggies looks like they've added a few people out of the transfer portal. A couple of players from from Power 4 conferences. And actually, I'm looking at this and maybe I haven't refreshed this properly enough, but I thought he had this updated today, but I'm not seeing these new players that are on this list. I'll have to double check this here in a little bit. But they are Craig McDonald, a defensive back from most recently Minnesota. Really didn't play last season. He's only got 2 recorded tackles, really nothing as of in 2024. 2 tackles recorded on his bio in 2023. He did record 24 tackles 24 solo tackles, 17 assists, so 41 total in 2021. This is a guy that's bounced around a little bit, but hasn't really played a lot, and hoping to find a home in Logan. 6'2", 215 pounds. He's a native of Minnesota, but he'll be making the move to Logan to participate with the Aggies and help out in their secondary where they need help. But a number of guys have left. So good size for somebody in the secondary with 6'2", 215 pounds, can help add that depleted secondary for Utah State. And then looking at another player on the other side of the ball, it's an offensive player, a wide receiver coming to Utah State. This is Brady Boyd from Texas Tech, making the transfer to Logan. 6'1", 195 pounds, originally from Southlake, Texas, but kind of similar. There's a guy that really didn't do a whole lot this last season, only credited with 1 reception for 7 yards last year, 5 receptions for 41 yards the year before that. And in 2022, 13 receptions for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. So very, very nominal impact at Texas Tech, hoping to get a chance in Logan to make it on the field and be able to help the Aggies a little bit on their offense. Certainly that's a good size, but we'll see if he can make the roster. Well, he'll make the roster, but how much will he be in rotation at Utah State? But the Utah State roster is slowly but surely coming together between the junior college transfers that are coming in and the players out of the portal making their commitments to Utah State. It's this new coaching staff is really starting to fill things out and make replacements to those players who left in the transfer portal after the season concluded for the Aggies. So again, you can go check it out at CashValleyDaily.com. Jason's got his transfer tracker updating any news from players who are announced in the portal, what their new destinations are looking like, where they end up declaring for their new homes, but also looking at players coming to Utah State. Where did they come from, and what have they done in the past in their previous stops before coming to Logan? So if you're looking for more information about what's going on with Utah State football, go check it out at CashValleyDaily.com. It's the 2024 transfer tracker that Jason puts together and keeps updated. Winter 2024 transfer tracker, just in case you want to make sure you're looking at the right one. Let's see, 3714. You got that weird static again? Yes. We apologize. It's been weird, but we're trying to chase it, trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm letting our engineers know. But yes, we apologize for that. We got some weird stuff that's been going on lately the last few days on some of our radio stations in our group. So our engineers have been on it, trying to track it down and trace it and get that resolved. So apologize for the interruptions and the weirdness, but we're trying to get it figured out and trying to get it addressed and fixed. But 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. This is this game tomorrow, Utah State and Boise State, massive showdown in the Mountain West. And look, there's been some great battles between these two teams over the years. Some games that have gone down to the wire with both of these teams. And if you'll remember last year, these two teams, the Aggies were able to win both of them against the Broncos. The game in Boise was an overtime game. It was pretty exciting. The game in Logan was a blowout. Wasn't really that crazy. Aggies beat them 80-61. Really took care of business. But this is a solid basketball team, well coached. Coach Leon Rice can be entertaining to watch on the sidelines. I think he's kind of a cartoon character. He gets very animated, but generally has a pretty decent basketball team nonetheless. But it's been a minute since Boise State has won in Logan. But the Aggie faithful love getting up for the game against Boise and cheering against the Broncos. And tomorrow night should be no different. With KVNU game day coverage will begin at 6 with J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and Jalen Moore. And then the tip-off will be at 7. And for those who are not able to be there, we'll have full play-by-play on KVNU. But if you want to watch the game, it'll be on CBS Sports Network. And then as soon as the game is over, KVNU Aggie Call will start up and take your phone calls and your reactions to what happened between the Aggies and the Broncos. All right, we're going to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, we'll get more into that. We'll hear from both coaches. We'll hear from some of the players as well, just setting up the matchups and what's going to go down. We'll also look at the playoffs, college football playoffs and the NFL playoffs.
Your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts supplies parts to over a dozen local Napa Auto Care centers. You can trust and count on their ASE certified mechanics to do it right. Take it to one of these Napa Auto Care centers: A1 Automotive, Master Mechanic, Randy's Service Center, Brent Allen Automotive, Trail Riders Repair. And if you're looking for a guarantee, you've got it. Every repair includes free peace of mind warranty that covers parts and labor for at least 24 months or 24,000 miles.
Many Aggie fans like to go to the game. Some fans love to yell at the TV, and all fans like to wear a shirt or a jacket with their favorite team's logo. Aggie fans find the best selection of USU logoed apparel at Locker 42. Find yourself an Aggie t-shirt for $10. Locker 42 features Aggie logoed hoodies, jackets, and golf shirts, and a hat wall with over 40 styles. Women's specific apparel, youth sizes for the junior Aggie, and toddler and infant Aggie items as well. Locker 42 is a store for Utah State fans by Utah State fans, and proud to be part of Aggie Nation.
Sports Talk Radio, KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Yeah, sorry. Apparently got something going on with Dan Patrick. No audio there. I know we've had a bit of an issue with them sending a repeat clip last several days. And this week, or today, apparently we've got nothing down the pipe. So just a couple more minutes here on the Full Court Press. Just a few other things just to let you know about. The Utah Hockey Club in action tonight. They've got some players back from injury. They've had to call up a few others, but so they've had some roster movement here and there. But their game tonight will be at 7:00. We'll have Skyview basketball on tonight. So we won't be carrying this game on the Fan. Normally we do carry the hockey club games here on the Fan, but they take on the Sharks tonight. It will be on ESPN Plus for those who do want to tune in and check on what's going on with the Utah Hockey Club. But the last few games with the Sharks have been decided by one goal, and they've split it. Had one game go to overtime in a shootout, and another one that was still an end of regulation, but one goal decided both games similarly. So could be an interesting one in Salt Lake City as the Utah Hockey Club hosts the San Jose Sharks, but we will not have that here on the Fan, whereas we normally would. But because we've got Skyview basketball going on tonight, we will not be carrying the Utah Hockey Club this evening. So we'll have